coming.
On
My name is Lauren Halstead. I am from Chainlink Labs. I am the influencer marketing manager at Chainlink. I've been there for 3 years now. I'd love everybody to give a warm welcome to our panelists.
Let's go.
Yay.
Today, we are going to be discussing on-chain is the new online, why crypto marketing matters. If everybody could just go around, introduce themselves, the project they're working for, and one sentence about that company, that would be great. Start off right with you guys.
Hi, everyone. My name is Min, and I'm the managing partner and co-founder of Ethereal Ventures. Ethereal Ventures is a global early-stage investment firm that was founded by the former investment team of Consensus. Really excited to be here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ko Anazawa. I'm the co-CEO of Bit2Me. We're a digital assets firm here in Spain. We have a launchpad, a wallet, an exchange. We've been around since 2015, and we help retail, institutional investors, and government navigate their way around Web3 and digital assets.
Hey, everybody, good to be here. I'm Andrea Armani, doing product growth at Ocean Protocol. And Ocean Protocol is basically an open source, decentralized infrastructure for data and AI.
Hi guys, I'm Phil. I'm from Munich. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Postman. Postman is a marketing protocol. We have two main products. One is Post to Earn for awareness and engagement, and the other one is Refer to Earn for conversion.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to start off with a kind of a topical question. Do you think that Web3 is the right marketing term to be used for our industry?
I think, yeah, for our industry it's great. You know, people are familiar with Web1, the evolution to Web2, and then going to like a decentralized future with Web3.
I guess it's a good question. It also depends like who you're talking to, but generally speaking, if you're looking at Reddit, Reddit, they've onboarded more than 1 million users a year or 2 years ago, and they did not mention Web3 at all, right? So like they simply use Web3, they just didn't mention NFTs, they didn't mention anything else, right? So depending who you're talking to, if you're approaching Web2 trying to sell Web3, maybe you just don't even want to talk about tokens and like NFTs, because there's a lot of wrong misconceptions about the industry, and so as soon as you use one term, you're kind of banned, right? Like they're stopping to, they're not even listening to you, right? And then on the opposite side, if you're talking to Web3 native people, then you actually want to talk about the tech because they kind of want to know what they're dealing with. So
I agree. Yeah, you don't want to be just put in one bucket like you're all Web3.
It's definitely better than crypto native marketing, I think.
Yeah, no, that's true. But if it's around devs, for sure, because I think this whole thing started with dev conferences, right? So rebranding at Web3 I think was good, but then on the marketing, at least with us, for example, when we market our products, we try to not say Web3, because the whole beauty of Web3 is the underlying technology.
Yeah, do you think there's anything we could be doing right now to make it more approachable to a Web2 audience, Web1 audience, Web0 audience than what we're doing? Have you seen any products or something that we could use to help reach that audience?
I think we should stop talking about use cases and start talking more about customer experiences, the actual experience. Like, oh, this is so much better than the previous version of the product. Not knowing that it's because of the advances of, could be Web3, could be AI, but customer experience as opposed to use case.
Getting rid of the jargon. I think like starting to Web3 and then talking about bonding curves sounds also very complex, and then you study it forever, and then you've noticed it's actually not that complex. Just like simpler words, like digital collectibles versus NFTs, making it accessible.
Definitely. I think it's pretty similar to the financial industry in terms of the jargon that they use. I was a former trader, so we use terms all the time that just generally confuse people. And I see it similarly in Web3 in terms of how we've created our own language, and it's alienated a lot of people outside of the crypto native community. But do you think there's any projects right now that's really effectively using Web3 marketing or doing anything interesting to reach that Web2 audience?
That's a good question, yeah. I mean, with Postman, we also mainly focus on Web3, like customers and marketing for Web3 projects. I
guess it's also like about the toolings that you're providing, right? Because Web2 doesn't really want to go do KYC on exchange and like buy crypto there and then transfer it on a MetaMask and then get hacked and then download another. Also, MetaMask, the concept of MetaMask in itself is just like wrong, right? Like just very like it takes about like 2 weeks for people to actually understand why they need MetaMask. It's just not obvious for people. So like all these third-party services that you're just building and integrating on top, those are all helping towards onboarding. And again, Reddit example, like 2 million people didn't need to know what a wallet was, or nor they did want to have one, right? So like it's this invisible layer that we kind of need a bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it depends on what product you're selling and who you're selling to. So obviously, if you're selling to devs or marketing to devs, like some extraction is definitely possible, but you don't have to really go into the nitty-gritty of consensus, but you probably need to use words like custody and stuff like that, right? But if you are going straight to users, I think one company that comes to mind, and we are in Europe, is SoRare, where they've onboarded millions of people who are using it simply because they're like, this is DraftKings, but you get to keep your digital collectible no matter what happens, even if like DraftKings goes down. And that's very intuitive to people. It's very, the idea of ownership and, focusing it on ownership is something that I think in their marketing has really resonated. So lots of people are just playing fantasy every week, not really thinking about NFTs or custody or using any tokens of any sort, but just celebrating the beautiful game. So that's probably one example that comes to mind. But again, I think they've managed to abstract away a lot of complexity from the user experience, and they're also marketing directly to users, so they do have that luxury.
It's very good. So what lessons from your projects, like what lessons have you learned the difficult way? Have you had any massive failures that you've learned from to move forward?
I mean, Postman is like a growth marketing protocol. In the beginning, we were like, Web3 ethos, we want to be very open, everyone can join, it's free for all. And then at some point, we realized that, if you don't have any barriers to entry for campaign members, you get really like low quality posters and, like a lot of bot traffic. So a core learning for us here was to highly gate our campaigns. So use token gating. There needs to be actually valuable tokens to make sure that really just community members can join in and earn in these campaigns. And yeah, basically like making sure the community is on board.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I guess maybe not the hard way, but one of my mottos is the less is more sometimes. And it really applies with sort of like everything that you do. The less you're doing, the better you can do it, right? And so the same thing, you can apply it to marketing when you're looking at, using 20 different customer acquisition strategies and then maybe just going paid marketing on Twitter, and then you do like yada, yada, yada. You got like top of the funnel, you got like a lot of people joining, and then you can't really retain them because you don't have the infrastructure to retain them. So as opposed to doing a lot of things poorly, just focus on what are the two main acquisition channels, and then give yourself a bit of time. But like slow growth and steady growth is just better than, boom, right? That's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, no, I think it's with us because we have a number of products, right? So imagine we have a launchpad, and then we power banks for them to offer crypto or digital assets to their customers. So when we're talking to the same community here in Spain and Latin America, millions of users, and so when we're talking about a launchpad project, you're saying, oh, these are the tokenomics, this is why it's a utility token, this is why blah 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 blah, and then you're talking to a bank and you're like, or the people who are probably their customers, and it's a very different conversation, very different communication. So I think with our mistake, which we're correcting now, is our marketing team has to be more surgical when it comes to who are we talking to, how do we talk to them, and it's a challenge because we need a lot of data and data targeted marketing and communication and socials, but then our socials is also just a few big channels that are speaking to the same people. So it is a challenge because we have so many customers and so many types of customers.
Yeah, you mentioned those different customer segments. How do you approach marketing to different regions? I know you mentioned just different categories, banks versus natives, but what about different people around the world?
Yeah, so our thing is we're probably the most prominent in the Spanish-speaking world, right? Which includes Portuguese. Not to put it in the same bucket, but I mean the Iberian region plus the Latin America. And so it's a very different use case or when you talk to somebody from like Argentina where Bitcoin and crypto is more like it's very natural to them. It's more like a safe haven for them to transfer money cross-border, on-chain, or between different exchanges, different wallets. And then you come to someone here from Spain, who's probably buying Bitcoin purely for speculation. And so it's a very different approach. And so we've done a good job in that sense, at least, knowing that our Latin users are spoken to a different way, our European users are spoken to a different way, and then the Northern European customers of ours, it's also a very different beast. It's so anyway.
Sounds very complicated.
But going back to what he said, it's less is more. That's for sure.
Do you have anything from the VC perspective on different portfolio companies you have? And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, really resonates with your point on having sort of different user groups, and I have a lot of sympathy because it's challenging, at least from our portfolio companies, like balancing marketing to token holders, to developers, to partners, to users, and ensuring that the narrative is completely cohesive. Like that is sometimes like quite a challenge because depending on which channel you're using, if the message is disjointed, then sometimes it doesn't come across as cohesive and add to the overall brand equity of a company. And with regards to sort of marketing to different geographies, I think one thing we've noticed between sort of the East and the West is on the West, like a lot of digital channels are quite effective, and you can also, market to people in the U.S., across Europe, all sorts of English-speaking countries. But at least in like the East, and I'm based in Singapore, having local community managers really make a world of a difference, and people do really seem to vibe with in-person events where there's a lot more onboarding and a lot more like tactical follow-up. So you're almost like building your community and your brand from little pods and like generating network effects from that small base. But if you look at, say, YGG, for example, they've been very effective at that across Southeast Asia, starting with Philippines first and ensuring that in every single region, which they're all like different languages too, like there's people who are continuing to sort of follow up on the activity and reinforcing it with online events too.
Yeah, YGG is a good one actually. It's good that they were able to segment YGG Philippines, Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and I think they
And
also gave community leaders a lot of agency with how they want to shape their community while ensuring that there are sort of like brand principles that are consistent across Joe's too.
Yeah, please share also just the importance of the community in each of your projects and how you plan on growing those communities with the Web3 marketing.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at like Web3 in general, it brings tokens, right? And tokens from like ERC20, ERC721, or like Soulbound, whatever, they're actually democratizing opportunity for people. Because if we're looking at Web2, the traditional way is like, if you want to join a company, what you do is like, you just go for like LinkedIn job posting and like you apply, you go through 5 different stages and then you get rejected. So it's like, and in Web3, it's the cycle is very much the opposite, and not always, but most often than not, you do have a lot of community members that are standing out from the crowd. And those community members are actually the ones that are committed, loyal, and are hardworking. And then from there, you can reward them with different, and we can talk about, reputation badges and dynamic NFTs and everything else. But the approach is very different. You start from the bottom up, and everyone, pretty much everyone really have a chance to stand out if they want to.
Yeah, that's why we actually built Postman. It's a great example. I mean, with Postman, you give your community the ability to earn in these post-to-earn or prefer-to-earn campaigns. You keep them in the loop, you create this campaign, you make them able to join, give them a brief. Each week is a different narrative. Like you split it up in different narrative chapters, how we call them, and then you provide them kind of keywords and what's this week narrative, and the community creates great content around it. And we were very blessed. One of my co-founders, Chainlink Bull, he brought a lot of the Chainlink Link Marines into Postman, also the Link Toads, shout out to them. And yeah, it was amazing to see how they create content. And, like Chainlink, it's full of memes, it's very fun, very accessible. And then in the end, we score the content, and the best one gets rewarded, or the best ones get paid out. And by this, you activate your community and reinforce the engagement together with your community.
Well, in our case, we're not purely Web3, right? We're kind of the stewards of Web3, maybe. So I like the guys behind YGG, for example. Again, like hello Gabby, if you're watching. He's an investor of ours. So, okay. So I speak to them, and they mentioned something particularly that like resonates with me that I'm trying to implement within the company, which is Web2 business model, Web3 user acquisition strategy equals supercharged unit economics, and that's what we're trying to do. Kind of we have a native token also, so we're trying to do very Web3 style community engagement and community tasks and all these things. So our customer acquisition is much more viral and with less, but then obviously very focused on our Web2 business model. And so far so good, actually. So it's a nice mix, it's a nice blend that you also have to try to balance. And it's a model that I think a lot of other companies could definitely follow. At the end of the day, we have to make money, right? Business first.
If we flip it, what do you think Web3 companies can learn from Web2 companies, big brands, successful, huge enterprises?
To make money?
To become more successful. What do you think they could learn? Like, what tactics could they learn? Say a lot of crypto native. The way I got into it was, attending meetups, small underground gatherings. They weren't, giant conferences. I guess like what we're doing now is more similar to what a Web2 company would do. But in terms of advertising, social media, just general influencer growth, any ideas?
I don't have the answer to that. I think Web3 is bringing. I'm also very biased. I have to say that. But I think Web3 is also bringing like a lot of good things into Web2. I'll let maybe others take the questions.
It's easier to say what Web2 can learn from Web3 in regards of community, because I think like Web2 like marketing is not very community focused, at least. Like Web2 brands definitely more accessible. I'm still sometimes ask myself how you get into that DAO. Like it's not that easy. But yeah.
But then I guess I would argue that they also had more time to build that, right? Like if you're looking at Wikipedia on day one, or like any website, like order a pizza online in 2004, like it wasn't like a really good experience anyway.
Yeah.
So I would like challenge that, because in 10 years Web3 will be actually really.
Yeah. And how Web3 how crypto native are we talking about here? The ones who want to be truly decentralized,
good point.
right? Or the ones that are like, no, let's be on the side of regulation. So then, like, is that then crypto natives? We don't know.
I think on the product side, it's very difficult. We're always facing this challenge, like, if you want to do everything on chain, like people need to sign. It's a trade-off. Like you want to give them the ability or like the power to like control the smart contract and sign everything, but the UX just sucks if you need to like sign everything. And I think it's very hard to abstract away to have still be decentralized and give the power to the user while making it very easy to use.
Yeah, we have big clients, for example, that like buying real estate here in Spain. Like Spain has very great property, particularly in the coast. And we're like, oh, we're buying real estate with crypto. And I'm like, not really. You're actually just going through us, making sure that your money's clean, and you're buying euros. And with that euros, it gets transferred to buy your asset. That's all it is. You're not buying real estate through crypto. We're swapping it for you. You're buying euros. Period.
That's true.
And then for people who don't want to go through the KYC, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't work with you.
Yeah, I think one thing that Web3 maybe can embrace is more experimentation. And again, big caveat that like I'm not in the hot seat, so you have to care about where the product is and what regulation will constrain you from that perspective. But Web3 is still so nascent and emergent. There's not a playbook yet, and at the same time, I think we're constantly, one thing we do caution our portfolio companies is not to care too much about what the competition is doing in terms of marketing and business development. Like, dare to be different, dare to experiment. For example, we all know that there's like a certain aesthetic, right, for crypto companies with regards to websites and like fonts. Like, maybe you should just break out of that mode and do something completely different to just sort of stand out. I think that's something I'd personally like to see.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's exactly what I was going for. Just what can we do, like tweak it from a visionary, more videos.
Be more
the original,
relatable.
yeah, the original Vitalik video describing Ethereum and what it was, like Internet Computer of Things. I was fascinated by it. I showed a friend, and she said, this is why nobody joins Web3. Like, this is a terrible video. Like, this is awful marketing. You guys really need to change what you're doing if you want to get more people to join. So that's kind of just the opposite point of view. We're just so deep into it that we, defend our standpoint. But
You mean like the rap? Or
I
like
don't know. Should we have should people be singing songs about Web3? How do we recenter the narrative to be, super positive right now that we're doing things to actually change the world in a positive way versus, what we've seen the past year in terms of.
Yet still be self-sovereign, or
Yes, to be self-sovereign. Yes. How do you inspire other people just to join our industry in general and get them excited about Web3 and crypto?
And here again, I think we can learn from Link Marines with like content, with memes. This is how you bring people in, like be fun, make it
that's
accessible.
true. Yeah, that's true.
All right, so we have memes. Only have a few minutes left, so happy to go around and just say where you think this is going and what you personally would do to make the industry more attractive to others, to have more people join us. Just happy to go around.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned it at the front, but reducing and abstracting away all jargon, I think, is super important. Most of the time, people don't understand it, and like 99% of the time, it's really unnecessary. So I think just, focus more on like storytelling and how, the product actually impacts someone, how it adds utility, why, we are uniquely positioned to actually solve a pain point for a certain user group, I think is a lot more powerful.
Yeah, same. Goes back to kind of our main focus also. Customer stories, less use cases. Why is it actually, does it bring value to put this thing on the blockchain or not? And talk about really, does it add value to the end customer and be much more relatable, whether that's to the end customer or to government or to institutions. Just be relatable and say this technology is going to make things more efficient, period. And this is how.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also quite challenging because on one side, Web3 has a lot of experimentation. You've got like a lot of potential good ideas, right? Good use cases. On the other side, you also need to, like, some products are actually solving business problems. And to me, the gap here is that many of the business problems aren't too clear in front of their face, right? In front of the user face. And so, for example, even data self-sovereignty. It's really hard to like get 90% of the population to understand the concept of owning your own data, right? We've seen it. It's complicated and it will take time, but slowly people are getting into the privacy aspect a bit more, and they're learning and they're educating. So for me, takeaway would be just always correlate whenever you're doing something, an actual problem in the user's life, to make it simpler for them to understand, and then onboard them later.
Yeah, to the question like where marketing is going with free, I think it's like through the community, leverage the community. People you saw like with influencer marketing, it started with the big influencers, celebrities, and then it trickled down actually to like kind of the mid-size, and like now I think more trends are the smaller influencers, which are kind of like harder to target because you find them and hire them, negotiate with them. But then in the end, it's like actually a community. You listen to your friends. You actually these are the people who influence you.
Yep.
So like kind of bottom-up community marketing.
And also, just to close it, one more thing. Everything is happening online. I think people still like the in real life type of human connection. So having big advocates and people across the world organizing meetups and really connecting with the community, it's also a really good way to engage with people.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
This is great, by the way.
Yes.
Like I was doing a panel 2 days ago in Madrid, and someone went up to me, marketing consultant, saying, "How come all you guys talk about the technology? Let's talk more about marketing this better." I was like, that's a good one. So this is great.
Yeah, no, I think I'm super excited about it. I'm always trying to figure out new ways to market to people. I think it could be experiential. It could be, a concert. It could be just something very different than what we've been doing in the approach. But I love all your guys' comments. This is a difficult time or difficult space we're in. So I'm I'm happy that we have all of you guys to help navigate it and make Web3 marketing strong as possible. And I appreciate everybody coming out today to listen to us. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.